Ingliz tilini o'rganish nimaga sizda bunaqa ko'p vaqt olayotganini, nimaga IELTS o'qish bunaqa qiyinligini va nimaga o'sha siz to'xtab qolgan baldan ko'tarila olmayotganingizni va qanaqa qilib siz o'zingizda o'zgarish sezishingiz mumkinligi haqida bilib olasiz inshaalloh. Bismillah.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh, dear brothers and sisters. Today is going to be our very first video for upper intermediate, and the thing that we're going to be doing here, inshallah, in this video is listening and its analysis. Well, I wanted to say text analysis, but essentially we're going to be doing listening only, and I will of course resort to typing the things that we're going to be listening to when needed. But since this is an upper intermediate level, I will not be over analyzing everything, because some of the things are supposed to be basically known or understandable for an upper intermediate student. Okay, BaarakAllohu fiikum. We're going to be listening to a 4 or 5 minute chunk of an hour-long video, a podcast I found to be somewhat beneficial. I would like you to listen to it together with me, inshallah, and try to analyze it. And I will, of course, go through the whole video with you, inshallah, and try to explain every single thing that I maybe deem to be a little vague or maybe challenging for an upper intermediate or intermediate student to understand or grasp the meaning of. Okay? BaarakAllohu fiikum. Before we start listening to the video, I would like you to maybe help me out with, conducting these classes, these listening classes. How? By maybe liking the video and leaving a comment. And in the comments, I want you to maybe suggest some improvements or give me advice on how I can improve these classes so that I can make them even more beneficial and enjoyable and interesting for you guys. Okay, my goal with this with this series of videos is to help you learn English and make the path of learning English for you as easy and interesting as possible. Okay, BaarakAllohu fiikum. And I want your feedback on these videos, inshallah. Let's jump into the video, inshallah, and analyze everything. Before we start analyzing, we will of course listen to the entirety of the video without any stops, without pausing, and then jump back to the beginning and start analyzing. I will repeat, I will not overanalyze anything like in the elementary or pre-intermediate levels. Here we will only focus on things that I think are somewhat challenging or vague or not quite understandable for upper intermediate or intermediate levels. Okay, BaarakAllohu fiikum. So let's start. Bismillah.
How does one know that a business would be suited to them? Because if you gauged on the people that come up to me in the street, or the taxi drivers I speak to, or my friends, or the DMs that I get, everyone's got an idea. Nobody seems to be short of ideas, but so many people seem to be stuck at that moment of making a decision to pursue a particular idea that they almost get like paralysis, like sofapreneurs. All of their ideas stay on the sofa that they were conceived on, but they never seem to get out of the sofa because of like that paralysis. I don't know if this is the one. I get that all the time. Is this the idea?
The thing is, we need to sharpen our ideas in the market, not in our minds. So what we have to do is go make contact with other people and see what they say and see what they think. So we have to conduct tests where we fail fast and fail cheap if we fail at all. So here's an example of what I like to do when someone has an idea. I say set up a very simple waiting list landing page and essentially let people know I'm thinking of starting something in this particular space, or we're launching something in this space later in the year. If you're interested, join the waiting list. Now that waiting list concept, essentially, if people will join the waiting list, and if you get hundreds of people joining a waiting list, it's a pretty good indication that it is a good idea. If you launch a waiting list and you message 3,000 people and say, I'm launching this thing, do you want to join the waiting list? And no one joins, then it's a good indication that's not the idea, right? Because we have to have a good marriage between what we're passionate about, what we want to do, and what the market wants. There's 6 million businesses in the UK, 30 million businesses in the USA, and that basically means that there's a lot of businesses doing a lot of things that already exist. So the market might not have an unmet need. The market might say, hey, I already have a great cupcake supplier. There's already someone who makes great coffee in my neighborhood. We don't need another one. Okay, fair enough. Let's have another idea, right? You can always have plenty more ideas. So you got to test. The faster you can get on with conducting a fast and cheap test, the better you're going to, go with your entrepreneurial idea.
Because that's one of the big sort of mental barriers that people have, is they see that committing to any of these ideas is going to cost them 3 years, their reputation, and potentially hundreds of thousands of their money or an investor's money. So that again creates paralysis, because the discomfort associated with being wrong when you think there's so much on the line will hold you in place. But your idea there of just throwing up a landing page immediately kills the paralysis.
And also just a landing page of a waiting list. So you're not even saying that this thing's a dead certain. You're just saying we're going to be launching something if we get enough interest. And here's the waiting list. And by the way, this is what really smart entrepreneurs do. Like Elon Musk launched a waiting list for the Model 3. He launched a waiting list for the Cybertruck. I think he launched a waiting list for a flamethrower.
Yeah, I joined all waiting lists.
Yeah. And he's essentially what he's doing is a very smart process of validating the idea. One of the best mindsets that we have as an early stage entrepreneur is the mindset of a scientist conducting a little experiment. And what we're trying to do is not be emotionally attached to what happens one way or another. What we want to do is we want to say, you know what, if people don't like this, okay, I'll have another idea. If people do like this, I'll go to the next step. So a scientist is just kind of like conducting an experiment. And the best experiments are cheap and fast. A waiting list is probably the most powerful early stage experiment you could go with. Elon Musk, when he launched the waiting list for Cybertruck, I don't think there would have been an investment bank on the planet that would have backed a factory for something that looked like Cybertruck. But when he walked in and said, I've got 1 million people who have put down a $100 deposit, if only 5% of them go ahead, they can crunch the numbers on that and say, yeah, okay, we'll fund that. Fair enough, let's build it. So it's very powerful. I did this recently. I had my team come up to me and say, hey, we could do a startup around an AI that helps people write a book. And I said, well, I'm not sure if anyone would like that, but let's launch a waiting list. So I launched a waiting list, put one post on LinkedIn, 750 people joined the waiting list. I was expecting 150. And in the waiting list, we actually asked questions like, how much would you pay for it per month? And how many months do you think it would take you? And what would success look like? And what would failure look like? And what else would you try instead of this? If this didn't exist, what would you use? So we asked all these questions. We collected a ton of data. And then off the back of that, we spec'd out the product. I also went to angel investors and said, do you guys want to co-invest in this one? We raised £300,000 on the SEIS scheme at a £3 million valuation for an idea, no lines of code, nothing built, nothing designed. And essentially, we got ourselves ready to launch in a couple of months, just simply off the back of that waiting list and all the data that we collected.
Okay, alhamdulillah, that's the chunk. Pretty long. It might seem a little long, but still, inshallah, we're going to be analyzing this chunk, inshallah. Again, as I said, we're not going to be overanalyzing anything, and I will not be stopping in every single sentence. I will, of course, inshallah, try to explain everything that I deem to be challenging to you, inshallah. But still, this is an upper intermediate class, right, brothers and sisters? So we have to level up our game, our listening game. So it's okay if the video is challenging for you, as long as you try to, first of all, grasp the meaning of it, and then listen to it again and again and again until you understand it 100%. Okay? So do not be demoralized if you don't understand the entirety of the video. It's okay. I mean, sometimes I don't even understand videos in Uzbek. Of course, I do understand videos in Uzbek, but sometimes I miss a couple of words, the meaning of words, for example, right? Sometimes I don't understand some words when I'm listening to a video in Uzbek, and that's okay, as long as I understand the gist or the meaning, the overall meaning of the video, okay? That's totally fine. Sometimes native speakers don't understand English videos, and that's okay too. As a matter of fact, recent research has shown that the youth, or generally people, they are inclined to watch movies or videos with subtitles rather than without subtitles. So they are actually in need of subtitles in order to understand or grasp the meaning of the overall meaning of a movie or the video they're watching. So no problem with you as a non-native speaker listening to a video and not understanding some words or a sentence or two, okay? No worries, as long as you try to understand more and more, okay? BaarakAllohu fiikum. So let's start analyzing the video from the beginning, inshallah. Bismillah.
How does one know that a business would be suited to them?
How does one know that a business would be suited to them? suited. So to be suited to. How does one know that a business would be suited to them? So here we can learn a very good phrase or word, to be suited to. So for example, I don't think this field of study is suited to you. Meaning, I don't think you should go into or pursue this field of study because it's not for you. It's not suited to you, okay? It doesn't suit you. You're not cut out for this field, okay? So it doesn't suit you. Something else suits you, okay? To be well suited means, for example, I can do it, or this thing is for me. If it's not well suited for me, or if it's not suited for me, it's not for me, okay? I mean, there's a very high chance that I will not be able to do it. That's what essentially this means, to be suited to someone or something, okay? Let's continue.
If you gauged on the people that come up to me in the street, or the taxi drivers I speak to, or my friends, or the DMs.
Again, a very good word, gauge. Let's rewind back.
How does one know that a business would be suited to them? Because if you gauged on the people that come up to me.
If you gauged on the people, So if you gauged on the people, so what does gauge mean? And what does on the people mean here? So gauge means to evaluate, okay? Evaluate or grade or evaluate. What does evaluate mean? Evaluate means to see the level of something, to see if it's good or bad, and so on. Evaluate, okay? Grading. For example, at schools, right? Teachers evaluate students. They give them A's or B's or C's or D's, right? In Uzbekistan, that's that's 2, 3, 4, or 5. That's evaluation. That's grading, okay? And gauging is more of a similar word, is a synonym to that. Gauging, for example, is in meters or in feet, okay? You gauge something, the length of this. For example, this phone is, 15 centimeters maybe? 15 centimeters, or let's say gauging this table is maybe 1.5 meters. So I'm gauging this table, the length or the width of this table, okay? So gauging is determining the level of something, the length of something, or the weight of something, okay? BaarakAllohu fiikum. So if you gauge on the people, what does that mean? So if you gauge on someone, that essentially means, so you are gauging something, you're determining the level of something based on people, okay? So what he's saying is, I look at the people, for example, taxi drivers or other people, and I think, okay, so he's evaluating, okay? He's grading stuff. He's thinking about the level of something. Okay, gauging on someone based on people. If you gauge based on people, or you can say if you gauge on the people, okay? BaarakAllohu fiikum. Again.
That a business would be suited to them. Because if you gauged on the people that come up to me in the street, or the taxi drivers I speak to, or my...
So he's gauging on the people that come up to him. Come up to means just to approach him, okay? Approach. They come to him, come up to him. People who come up to him, or taxi drivers, just casual people.
Friends or the DMs that I get, everyone's got an idea.
Everyone's got an idea.
Nobody seems to be short of ideas.
Mm-hmm. A very good word. Nobody seems to be short of ideas. Mm-hmm. Nobody seems to be short of... What does that mean? Nobody seems to be short of ideas. Nobody seems to not have ideas. So everybody seems to have ideas. That's what it essentially means, okay? So nobody seems to be short of... To be short of something means not to have something. So for example, if I say right now I'm short of money, that means I don't have money, okay? Or if I say I'm short of ideas, I don't have ideas, and so on, okay? Nobody seems to be short of ideas. Or it might mean that you have very, very little amount of it. Very little amount of it, okay? Not enough, basically, not enough. So that's what to be short of something means, okay? I'm short of ideas, I don't have ideas, or I don't have enough ideas. BaarakAllohu. That's what it means, okay? To be short of something. So nobody seems to be short of ideas. What does that mean? Everybody seems to have ideas. Nobody seems to be short of it, okay?
But so many people seem to be stuck at that moment of making a decision to pursue a particular idea.
Okay, so many people seem to be stuck at that moment when they're supposed to be pursuing an idea. Pursue an idea, that's a very good word as well. Pursue an idea. What does that mean? Pursuing an idea means to following an idea or acting on an idea, okay? What does that mean? So, for example, I have an idea of starting up a business of selling maybe ice cream. If I want to pursue this idea, I would, go to a distributor of ice cream and I would purchase maybe a couple of tons of ice cream and then start selling them on the street or in the market or in the mall. That's pursuing this idea. That's acting on it. That's doing something about the idea. That's actually pursuing an idea. That's what pursuing an idea means, okay? Acting on it. Doing something about the idea, it's pursuing the idea. If you just have the idea and if you don't pursue it, that's just stays as an idea. That's not an action. That's not business, okay? So that's what he means. So everybody seems to be stuck when it comes to pursuing an idea. Nobody seems to be short of ideas. Everybody seems to have ideas. So, for example, if you even ask a taxi driver, they have lots of ideas, lots of very, very bright business ideas in Uzbekistan as well. But all of them seem to be stuck. They don't move forward. They don't move on to the next step of what? Pursuing this idea, acting on it, doing something about it, okay? Making the very first step. Action. That's what they seem to be stuck. What does stuck mean? Stuck, just they don't move forwards, nor backwards, nor forward. I mean, just stay on stage where they are and that's it. They don't move. That's stuck. That's what stuck means, okay? So a lot of people seem to be stuck at the stage of what? Pursuing the idea.
But so many people seem to be stuck at that moment of making a decision to pursue a particular idea that they almost get like paralysis.
They get paralysis. What's paralysis? Paralysis is this. This is paralysis. Paralysis. That's what paralysis means. Like you can't move, okay? You can't talk, you can't move, you can't do anything. That's paralysis. That's actually a medical term, paralysis. But here in business terms, paralysis means to be stuck at the stage of pursuing an idea, okay? You have this barrier, you're fearful, you are scared that it's not going to succeed, you're scared that the risk isn't worth it, you're scared that, people are going to laugh at you, and so on. That's paralysis in business terms.
Like sofapreneurs.
Sofapreneurs. Very, very good word. Sofapreneur. Sofapreneur, that's taken from a word like sofa and entrepreneur. Sofa plus entrepreneur. What does sofa plus entrepreneur mean? Sofapreneur. That's, for example, an entrepreneur on the sofa. That's what it essentially means. That's like a couch potato or backseat driver. They say they have bright ideas, brilliant ideas, like businesses that they can start, like brilliant $1 million ideas, but these ideas do not leave the boundaries of their sofa. Okay? So that's what sofapreneur is. Sofapreneur, they sit back on their couches, their sofas, and then they preach to the youth, or why don't you start up a business? Why don't you sell this? Why don't you do that? And why don't they do it? They teach others to do business, but they don't do it themselves. That's what sofapreneur is, okay? Why don't they do it? Because they're scared, or because they think that they don't have what it takes. They don't have the means, and so on. Excuses, okay? That's what a sofapreneur, in very harsh terms, means, okay? Sofapreneur. Very interesting phrase. Of course, it's not an academic word, okay?
All of their ideas stay on the sofa that they were conceived on, but they never seem
here. So he himself defines the word sofapreneur. So the ideas of, or business or entrepreneurial ideas of a sofapreneur stay where they were conceived on, meaning sofa. They don't leave the boundaries of their sofas. Okay, what does conceive mean? Conceive. So conceive means to think or come up with an idea. To think of an idea or come up with an idea, okay? Come up with an idea or think of an idea. Think of an idea. So that's what conceive an idea means. The word conceive has another meaning, which is, okay, this is somewhat uncomfortable for me to describe the meaning of, but I will try to, make it as succinct as possible. So in microbiological terms, this is the process of making babies, okay? I will not go further than that. You do your own research on this word, okay? So microbiological level of making a baby. Next one. Let's go on. Let's carry on.
But they never seem to get out of the sofa because of like that paralysis. I don't know if this is the one. I get that all the time. Is this the idea?
So what he means here, is this the idea? Is this the one? What does he mean here? What he means here is this that idea that will succeed? Is this the idea? So the definite article here is very, very important. If you're texting this very sentence that we have heard right now, that I've listened to here, that would sound like, is this the one? Is this the one? Or is this the idea? What does the idea mean or the one mean here? The idea or the one here means the idea that's going to succeed. The idea that's going to make me a lot of money. That's what it means here. How do I know that? I mean, this is self-explanatory, isn't it? Okay, for example, I'm doubting if my idea, for example, I have three business ideas, okay? And I'm gauging or I'm evaluating, remember the word gauge? I'm gauging the first idea that I have among the three, and I'm looking at it, okay, so people have interest in this product or service, and I'm thinking, is this idea the one, or is this the idea that's going to make me a lot of money? That's, how you approach the meaning of it, okay? Because the very first question was what? How does one know that a business would be suited to them? Or how does one know that their ideas are going to be the successful one? Is this the one, or is this the idea? Means, is this the idea that's going to make me a lot of money? Okay? So you can derive that meaning from the context as well.
The thing is, we need to sharpen our ideas in the market, not in our minds.
The thing that we need to is sharpen our ideas in the market, not in our minds. Right? So let's listen to that again, one more time.
I get that all the time. Is this the idea?
The thing is, we need to sharpen our ideas in the market, not in our minds.
Did you hear that? So we should sharpen our ideas. What does sharpen your idea? Sharpen our ideas in the market, not in our minds. What does sharpen an idea mean? So improving your idea. You have, for example, a very auspicious or bright or brilliant business idea, but you don't think that it's perfect yet. You think you could improve it somewhat, but you don't know how. So that improvement process of making it better means sharpening. Okay? Just like you sharpen your knife, you sharpen a knife, right? You improve it, you make it sharper. So a sharp idea is a very good idea. So sharpening idea is making an idea better. Okay? So we should sharpen our ideas in the market, not in our minds. What does that mean? So sharpening your idea in the market, as you've heard the first time in the video, means letting people decide if it's a good idea or not. Just let it out to the people, to the public, and ask them, okay, I have this very good idea of this product or service. What do you guys think? Is this good? Do you think you would buy this product, or do you think you would pay for this service? What do you think? And what would you prefer as supplementary product or a service, supplementary service. What would make this product better? And how much would you pay for this product or service? And so on. This is sharpening the idea, okay? From the first stage to the next level. So you should not be sitting and doing this process of, thinking and, perfecting the idea in your mind. You should be doing it in the market, asking people around, not in your mind, not on your own. Because, as the Russian saying says, одна голова хорошо, а две лучше. По-моему, I think that's how it goes. So you should be thinking about sharpening your idea in the market, asking people around, surveys and whatnot, not in your mind. That's what he is saying. Let's continue.
So what we have to do is go make contact with other people and see what they say and see what they think. So we have to conduct tests where we fail fast and fail cheap if we fail.
So another good collocation, conduct a test, right? Conducting a test means to, having a test. Again, gauging something, evaluating something. So testing something. Conducting a test means testing something, okay? So for example, let's say I myself conduct tests with my audience on Instagram all the time. I mean, for example, I ask you guys, what do you guys think about this content that I've made before? Or what do you guys think if I launch a product or a book or a course of some sort? What do you guys think? That's a test, right? Before actually making the course, before actually writing the book, I ask you, what do you think about it? What do you think? Or what do you need in order to improve your, for example, listening or writing or reading or vocabulary or grammar? So that's a test, okay? I'm testing or I'm sharpening my idea in the market with you. You are my market, you are my audience. So I test it with you. You help me around, you help me, perfect or sharpen my idea and make my product to you guys better. That's how trade-off works. I have an idea, I have a very good idea. Okay, if I make this product, I think it's gonna benefit a lot of people, a lot of English learning students, a lot of Muslims, and so on. But I'm not sure if it's gonna succeed or not. So let me ask around, okay? So I make a poll or survey of some sort on Instagram or in Telegram and so on. So I conduct a test. That's what a conducting test means. So next word was what? I really liked the phrase fail fast and fail cheap if we fail at all. So I think you get what this means. Fail fast and fail cheap means, so if you're starting up a business, you don't want to risk too much, right? So in the beginning stages, in the initial stages of starting up a business, you're not risking too much usually. Usually, entrepreneurs do not risk too much on an idea that's not developed yet. So you're risking a certain amount of your budget or money, cash, and so on. So if you fail, you want to fail fast in the initial stages and you want to fail cheap. You don't want to lose lots of money on an idea that doesn't succeed. So lots of businesses fail. That's okay. That's something that happens all the time, right? So if you happen to fail, you want to fail in the first stage and you don't want to lose lots of money. That's what failing cheap means, okay? So fail fast in the first stage and fail cheap so that you can move on to the next idea, to the next business idea and start working and sharpening your idea in that front. So you move on to the next thing. So that's what failing fast and failing cheap means. If we fail at all, if you happen to fail at all, so we should conduct a test, and if it fails, let it fail fast and let it fail cheap without us losing a lot of money, a lot of budget. Let's go on.
If we fail at all. So here's an example of what I like to do when someone has an idea. I say set up a very simple waiting list landing page and
set up a simple waiting list landing page. So setting up a simple waiting list landing page. Waiting list landing page means, you know what setup means? Setup is, making or creating a landing page. What's a landing page? Landing page is a specific one-page website that has a certain purpose, like for example, selling a course or selling a product or service to you guys, or having you subscribe to an email list or something, and so on. Or a waiting list, subscribing to a waiting list. So for example, I have a landing page as well for my courses, for my English courses. So I have a beginner course, and for example, an elementary course, a 35-day challenge course, right? So if I want to announce that I'm launching these courses again, so I would give you a link that would, direct you to the landing page of that course. So in that landing page, you would get all the information, all the prices, and so on about that course, and you would, be directed to the next stage of buying that course. So landing page is usually one-page website with a specific purpose. Okay, BaarakAllohu fiikum. So that's what landing page is. Okay, next one.
Essentially, let people know I'm thinking of starting something in this particular space, or we're launching something in this space later in the year. If you're interested, join the waiting list. Now, that waiting list concept, essentially, if people will join the waiting list, and if you get hundreds of people joining a waiting list, it's a pretty good indication that it is a good idea.
It's a pretty good indication that it's a good idea, right?
If you launch a waiting list and you message 3,000 people and say, I'm launching this thing, do you want to join the waiting list? And no one joins, then it's a good indication that's not the idea, right? Because we have to have a good marriage between what we're passionate about, what we want to do, and what the market wants.
Another very good collocation, we should have a good marriage between what we're passionate about and what the market wants. Okay, the word marriage here. Let me use the pen. The word marriage doesn't always mean, a husband and a wife. So here, the marriage, good marriage between something and something else means a very powerful connection between something and something else. So what he's trying to say here is before starting up a business, you should first establish a very strong connection between what you're passionate about, what you want to start up a business, what kind of business you want to start, and what the market wants, what people want. For example, let's say they want to start learning English, but I'm really passionate about teaching IELTS. So there is a very weak connection between what I want and what the market or what my students want. So that's not a very good marriage between my passion and their needs. So if I want to have a good marriage between my passion and their needs, I would launch a beginner course. Okay? Of course, I would launch an IELTS course as well if I were passionate about it, but still, you should provide the market with what it needs, okay? Not with what you want. That's a basic business rule, I guess, okay? So you should have a good marriage between something and something else, means you should have a very good connection between what you're passionate about and what the market wants. Again, and one more thing, passionate about, what does that mean? What you're passionate about is you're emotionally attached to it, okay? You're emotionally attached to it. You really want it. For example, these days I'm passionate about learning another language, which is Arabic. I have been passionate about learning Arabic for maybe 2 or 3 years, but it's challenging, really. It's challenging, especially if you're living abroad with a family, doing your own business, and so on. It's very hard to pursue your passion. That's another very good word, pursuing your passion. That means following your passion. So it's very challenging, to be honest, but still I haven't given up. I will, inshallah, with the grace of Allah, start learning Arabic again very soon. I have plans, inshallah. Anyway, so let's continue. So we should have a good marriage between what we're passionate about and what the market wants. If you use this phrase, to have good marriage between this and that in IELTS, I think this will, inshallah, increase your vocabulary point in speaking. In writing as well, probably, inshallah, okay? So don't force this phrase into your essay or into your answer in speaking test, but still, take into account that the word marriage can be used in different contexts and different meanings as well, okay? BaarakAllohu fiikum.
There's 6 million businesses in the UK, 30 million businesses in the USA, and that basically means that there's a lot of businesses doing a lot of things that already exist. So the market might not have an unmet need. The market might say, hey.
The market, let's learn another word. The market might not have an unmet need. What does that mean? Unmet need? Unmet need. What does that mean? The need that hasn't been fulfilled. What's a need? Need here is used in the form of a noun. Need is something that you need, right? Very logical. For example, people have needs. They need food, they need clothes, they need education, they need accommodation, and so on, right? For example, these days, people's needs are entertainment and so on. People might not have an unmet need, means people's needs might have been fulfilled already. Okay? Unmet need is a need that hasn't been fulfilled. But in this market, for example, let's say in Korean market, let's say, in Uzbekistan, there's a growing interest in terms of learning Korean in Uzbekistan these days, because a lot of people are interested in, traveling to South Korea, working there, studying there as well. I myself have studied in South Korea, in Seoul. So I know that there's a growing need for Korean language in Uzbekistan. But still, is this need fulfilled, or is this an unmet need? So I would say that it's an unmet need. Why? Because there are more people who want to learn English than those who can teach it. So more teachers of Korean are needed in Uzbekistan than the number of students that want to learn it. So there is an unmet need in Korean learning market in Uzbekistan. But what he's saying is, so you should have a good marriage between what the market wants or what the market needs and what you're passionate about. What if the market that you're pursuing, the market that you have chosen, doesn't have an unmet need? Which means, what if everyone has already got what they needed and you're irrelevant there? What you're trying to sell to them, what you're trying to provide them with is not necessary, is not needed. So that's where the marketing or the waiting list or the survey or the landing page, so to speak, comes in, okay? So that's where those things help around. Okay, let's continue.
Say, hey, I already have a great cupcake supplier. There's already someone who makes great coffee in my neighborhood. We don't need another one. Okay, fair enough. Let's have another idea, right?
You see? So the market has been fulfilled or the need has been met. Okay? So that's coming from the phrase meet the need. Meaning the need has been met. Okay? Okay, let me bring you an example. Let's say 100 people in Tashkent want an iPhone. And I, as an entrepreneur, buy an iPhone from South Korea and come to Uzbekistan and sell each one of those 100 people an iPhone. And this need has been met. Okay, I have met this need of these 100 people. Okay, so that's what meeting the need means. So if the need has been met, you're irrelevant there. You're not needed. Okay, your product is irrelevant, basically.
You can always have plenty more ideas. So you got to test. The faster you can get on with conducting a fast and cheap test, the better you're going to, go with your entrepreneurial idea.
So you should do that as fast as possible. So you should determine whether your product is needed or not, so that you can move on to the next idea if it fails. And if it fails cheap, the cheaper it fails, the better, okay? Of course, it's better if it doesn't fail, but, as an entrepreneur or as a business person, you have to be prepared that your ideas are going to fail, and that's okay. BaarakAllohu fiikum. Have tawakkul, okay?
That's one of the big sort of mental barriers that people have, is they see that.
Mental barrier. What's a mental barrier? Mental barrier is something, remember paralysis? You remember paralysis? That's a mental barrier, so to speak, right? In psychological or, in business terms, maybe. Mental barrier is something that stops you from taking action, okay? So you're scared. You're scared of being embarrassed, or you're scared of being laughed at, or you're scared of losing lots of money, and so on. So that's a mental barrier. Lots of us have mental barriers. Even you might have mental barriers as well. Maybe you have a mental barrier in terms of public speaking. You're too scared to come up to an audience and, give a speech for 5 minutes in English. So that's a mental barrier as well. Okay? Mental barrier is like emotional wall that you have in your brain, in your mind, that stops you from taking action. That's a mental barrier. In terms of business, mental barrier is being scared of the risks, which stop you from taking action. That's a mental barrier, okay?
As they see that committing to any of these ideas is going to cost them 3 years.
Committing to any of these ideas. Commit to something. Again, this is very similar to pursue something. So committing to something is pursuing something, or, giving your energy and your time and your probably money as well to something is committing to something. So committing to any of these ideas, as he said, might involve you risking your money, your time, your energy, your other ideas, probably. So committing to any of these ideas leads you to a mental barrier. Okay?
A reputation and potentially hundreds of thousands of their money or an investor's money. So that again creates paralysis, because the discomfort associated.
So this creates what? Paralysis. Committing to any of these ideas. So for example, you are a taxi driver and you have a brilliant business idea, let's say. But you have a mental barrier. Why? Because you cannot risk your car. You can't risk your reputation. You can't risk all the money that you have on this idea. You're too scared. That's a mental barrier. That leads you to what? To paralysis. And you cannot take any action. You cannot pursue your idea. Of course, you have to first what? You have to have a good connection, or you have to have a good marriage between that idea of yours and what the market needs. So, of course, as a young or first stage or early stage entrepreneur, you should not jump into any idea and invest everything you've got. Sometimes having a mental barrier or a paralysis, so to speak, saves you from, having a bankruptcy or something. So you have to be balanced in that approach.
With being wrong, when you think there's so much on the line, will hold you in place. But
a very good word. There's so much on the line. There's so much on the line? What does it mean? There's so much on the line means there's so much to risk. There's so much at risk, or there is so much at risk. For example, I have a business idea and I want to start a line of convenience stores in Tashkent. And that would require me to have $1 million, let's say. And I only have $100. And a friend of mine approaches me and says, I can lend you $1 million as long as you can return it to me in 3 years. No taxes, no interest, and so on. No nothing. Just like a debt. And if I invest this $1 million into this business, it will either succeed tremendously or fail, bringing me nothing and leaving me with $1 million debt. In that moment, in that particular situation, I would say, oh, there is so much on the line. So much on the line, because I don't have any savings to return the $1 million with if I fail. So there's so much on the line. I'm risking too much, okay? So that's what so much on the line means. Okay, let's carry on.
But your idea there of just throwing up a landing page immediately kills the paralysis.
And also just a landing page of a way.
So what he's saying is, making a landing page and asking people around whether the idea sounds good to them kills this paralysis, kills this mental barrier. Why? Because you haven't done anything yet with the idea. You haven't invested any money. You haven't, built anything. You don't have any codes. You don't have anything, and still asking around people whether they think the idea is good, whether they would want the product or service. And if they say yes, then you would, be sure that, okay, this is probably, inshallah, going to succeed. And you don't have that mental barrier, or the risk has been, that fear of risking lots of money or reputation or, your savings has been decreased. Okay? So you don't have that mental barrier anymore because what? People have shown interest to your idea.
A waiting list.
Yes,
so you're not even saying that this thing's a dead certain. You're just saying we're going to be launching something if we get enough interest. And
so you're not even saying that this is dead certain. Dead certain. That's another interesting phrase. Dead certain. Dead certain means you are like 100% sure that this is going to happen, inshallah. This is that certain means, okay? When setting up a landing page, you're not saying that, okay, guys, we are 100% going to launch this product in 5 months, so invest in it. Or, anyone who's interested, wait for it. No, you're not saying that. If we get enough interest, if enough people, let's say, if 1,000 people say that they are going to be interested or that they are going to purchase this product, we will make it, inshallah. That's what you're essentially saying in the waiting list landing page, or in the first initial survey that you're conducting in order to test or sharpen the idea in the market, not in your mind, right?
And here's the waiting list. And by the way, this is what really smart entrepreneurs do. Like Elon Musk launched a waiting list for the Model 3. He launched a waiting list for the Cybertruck. I think he launched a waiting list for a flamethrower.
And do you remember the flamethrower?
I joined all the waiting lists.
Yeah.
So this guy joined all the waiting lists. So he was interested in those ideas. He showed interest to those ideas of Elon Musk.
And he's essentially what he's doing is a very smart process of validating the idea.
Validating the idea, okay? Validating the idea. What does validating the idea mean? It means checking and confirming that the idea is legitimate. Okay? What does that mean? For example, I bring you an idea. So, okay, here I have a product. You are an investor. You are an investor and I'm an inventor. Okay? So I have come to you and I say, okay, I have this product with me. I want to set up a business with you. What do you think? And the investor comes and checks the product. Okay, I think this is going to succeed, inshallah. So we can invest like $5 million into this. So yeah, I have checked it and I think this is going to succeed, inshallah. So the investor has just validated my idea. It's now a legitimate, a real thing. Okay, that's what validating means. Validation. Okay, so if he says, oh, I'm sorry, but your product is not that much of a good thing, or your product is not needed in the market, or I don't really like the design of your product and I don't think the functions are worth investing in, and so on. So he did not validate my product. Okay? So validating means checking and saying that, okay, this is going to be real, this is the real thing, the real deal, and I confirm it. This is going to happen, inshallah. So that's what validating means. Okay? Let's continue.
One of the best mindsets that we have as an early stage entrepreneur is the mindset of a scientist conducting a little.
Mindset of a scientist. What does mindset mean? Mindset, way of thinking. Okay? Mindset means way of thinking. So one of the best mindset as an early stage entrepreneur is having the mindset of a scientist that's conducting little experiments.
Conducting a little experiment. And what we're trying to do is not be emotionally attached to what happens one way or another. What we want to do.
Okay. What we are trying to do is not being emotionally attached to what happens one way or another. So what we're trying to do is not being emotionally attached to what happens one way or another. What does that mean? So being emotionally attached to something is, for example, whatever happens, I want this to happen. For example, if I'm emotionally attached to an idea, I would not really care about the market needs. So remember the example with the IELTS course and the beginner course. If I'm emotionally attached to the IELTS course that I want to, launch, I would not really care about, the students wanting the beginning course. I'm emotionally attached to the IELTS course, so no, I want to launch an IELTS course. I want to teach IELTS, not beginner. That's emotionally attached. Okay? So what we're trying to do is not being emotionally attached to what happens in the research process. Okay? For example, I conduct a test with you, with my audience on Instagram and say, okay, guys, I want to launch a course. So what kind of course would you like the most? Beginner, elementary, pre-intermediate, intermediate, upper intermediate, or IELTS? And most people choose beginner, let's say. And if I'm emotionally attached to what happens, I would say, no, why did people choose the beginner? I wanted to teach IELTS. Why did they choose beginner? Oh, maybe I should teach IELTS instead. Maybe I should teach IELTS anyway. I don't want to teach beginner. That's emotionally attached. So that's not what you're trying to do as an entrepreneur, okay? What you're trying to do is, detach emotionally, okay? Emotionally be detached from whatever happens after the survey or after the landing page results or waiting list results. That's what smart business people or entrepreneurs do. They're not emotionally attached to the products that they're passionate about, but they're emotionally attached to the results of the surveys that they conduct with their market.
What we want to do is we want to say, you know what, if people don't like this, okay, I'll have another idea. If people do like this, I'll go to the next step. So a scientist is just kind of like conducting an experiment, and the best experiments are cheap and fast. A waiting list is probably the most powerful.
The best experiment is cheap and fast. The best experiment is cheap and fast. Remember the saying, you should fail fast and cheap. So that's the best experiment, as the scientist that's conducting a little experiment. Your experiment or your idea should not cost you all of your money and all of your time, so that you can move on to the next idea. If this idea doesn't succeed, okay, fine, that's okay with business, right? Businesses sometimes fail. Actually, they fail most of the time. So you as an entrepreneur, you want to fail fast and cheap. That's the best experiment. So you want to reduce the risk factor. So you want to reduce your mental barrier, okay? With what? With conducting a little survey or waiting list thingy or landing page, as he says. Let's continue.
Early stage experiment you could go with. Elon Musk, when he launched the waiting list for Cybertruck, I don't think there would have been an investment bank on the planet that would have backed a factory for something that looked like Cybertruck.
So he's describing what Elon Musk did with the Cybertruck. So he launched a waiting list. What he basically did is, okay, guys, I want to sell you this product maybe in a couple of years. If you want to buy it first before others, join the waiting list. And I think million people joined the waiting list, paid $100 to be the first ones to buy the car, the Cybertruck. And Elon Musk found out, he realized that, okay, so many people are interested in this product, so I can, start producing the Cybertruck with full heart. I'm not taking much of a risk because there are so many people interested in this product, okay?
But when he walked in and said, I've got 1 million people who have put down $100 deposit, if only 5% of them go ahead, they can crunch the numbers on that and say, yeah, okay, we'll fund that. Fair enough.
Okay, crunch the numbers. Crunch the numbers. What does crunch the numbers mean? Crunch the numbers means calculating the numbers and determining whether the numbers say to go on with the product or not. In this context, in this video, crunching the numbers or any other contexts of business, crunching the numbers means analyzing the data, okay? Analyzing the information, the number of people who are interested in this product or service, or people who haven't shown any interest, or gauging the interest level of people and, the amount of money they would be willing to pay for this product or service. Numbers. Crunching the numbers means evaluating the numbers, comparing and contrasting the numbers, and so on, to give you what? The outcome, or to help you make a certain decision as to what the next step of this business is. Okay? So that's what crunching the numbers is. Numbers are data. Numbers are data, and data helps you make certain decisions in terms of business. So that's what crunching the numbers is.
Fair enough. Let's build it. So it's very powerful. I did this recently. I had my team come up to me and say, hey, we could do a startup around an AI that helps people write a book.
So his team came up to him. Again, let's learn this. Come up to someone. Come up to someone means approach someone. So let's say I have a friend and I want to share an idea with him. So I come up to him and tell my idea to him, okay? So come up to someone means to approach someone. So he is maybe in a different district or in a different city. So I, come up to him. I go to his place or meet with him. And then I say, okay, friend, I have this idea. What do you think about it? So I came up to him and shared my idea. Or I approached him and shared my idea. So his team came up to him. But it doesn't have to be physically coming to the person or physically approaching the person, okay? It doesn't have to be physically approaching. Most of the times it is physically approaching, but it doesn't have to be, okay? It might be figurative. Actually, a very close friend of mine, he called me. He's in London right now. He called me and he pitched his idea to me, a business idea. So I might as well say that he came up to me with an idea of business or entrepreneurship, let's say. Okay? So come up to someone means approaching someone. Okay? BaarakAllohu fiikum. Let's continue.
And I said, well, I'm not sure if anyone would like that, but let's launch a waiting list. So I launched a waiting list, put one post on LinkedIn, 750 people joined the waiting list. I was expecting 150. And in the waiting list, we actually asked questions like, how much would you pay for it per month? And how many months do you think it would take you? And what would success look like? And what would...
So his team wanted to launch an AI program or software that would help others write books, right? So he was skeptical about it at first. He was skeptical. He wasn't sure. I'm not sure if people are going to want that, but let's launch a waiting list. And let's say to people, okay, we're going to launch this AI program that's going to help you write books. Are you interested in that? And if you are interested, what kind of features do you think the program should have? Or if this program didn't exist, what would you resort to? Or what would you do in order to help you write books? Or what would success look like to you? Or what would failure look like to you? And so on.
And what would failure look like? And what else would you try instead of this? If this didn't exist, what would you use? So we asked all these questions. We collected a ton of data. And then off the back of that, we
collected a ton of data. Collect a ton of data. So collecting is associated with, collecting things like rare coins or, rare money or antique products like very, very old phones and so on, right? Collecting is mostly associated with that hobby. No, collecting is, gathering things, actually. Collecting doesn't always mean, gathering old antique coins or products from the past century. No, what it means is gathering stuff. Gathering, okay? Here, gathering a ton of data. Collecting a ton of data. Data here means information. What he did was he collected a ton of data, a lot of data from people who answered his survey, his waiting list survey. So collect here means, okay, thank you very much. Thank you very much for information. Thank you for answering our questions. So he's collecting data, information from a lot of people, okay? Collecting. Collecting does not always mean, having rare coins in your cupboard, in your book, and so on. No, collecting is not restricted to that meaning only. BaarakAllohu fiikum. Let's continue.
We spec'd out the product. I also went to angel investors and said,
spec'd out a product. I'm sorry, I'm pausing a lot, but we should learn that. We should learn it. So he said, we spec'd out a product. Spec out a product. What does spec out a product mean? It means, determining the specifications, the features, the price, the design of the product, okay? Speccing out a product means to determining everything about the product. Basically, inventing the blueprint of the product, okay? That's what speccing out a product means. Spec is coming from specification. Specification, okay? Specification of the product, okay? So you are detailing out the features, the price, the design, the looks, and so on of the product. Okay? BaarakAllohu fiikum. Speccing out a product. That's what he meant.
instead of this, if this didn't exist, what would you use? So we asked all these questions. We collected a ton of data. And then off the back of that, we spec'd out the product.
I'm sorry, I have to pause again. I missed one very, very good collocation. Off the back of that. So he said, off the back of that, we spec'd out. Spec out is not an official or is not an academic word, so it will give you an incorrect line under it. So it's okay, okay? So off the back of that, we spec'd out a product. What does that mean? So they collected a ton of data after the survey. You remember they asked from the people in LinkedIn, the application, that they wanted to launch an AI that would help them write books. And they asked what kind of features they would like that product to have. What would they do if they didn't have this product? The prices, or what the success or failure would look like in terms of this application and so on. So they collected all of this information from people, the answers to the question, and they, off the back of that, they spec'd out the product. Off the back of that means depending on that or according to that, leaning on this information. What? Leaning on, or with the help of this information, off the back of that, with the help of, or because of that, or according to that information, they spec'd out or they determined the specifications of the product. BaarakAllohu, okay? So that's what off the back of that means. Again.
If this didn't exist, what would you use? So we asked all these questions. We collected a ton of data. And then off the back of that, we spec'd out the product. I also went to angel investors and said, do you guys want to co-invest in this one? We raised £300,000 on the SEIS.
A lot of money. He raised a lot of money, not having done virtually anything with the products.
Scheme at a £3 million valuation.
£3 million valuation without even creating the product, off the back of an idea. Off the back of an idea, £3 million. Can you imagine that? Again, did you notice the phrase that I've used? Off the back of an idea. Off the back of an idea, he raised £3 million. Okay, he didn't raise £3 million. The valuation of his idea was £3 million. Meaning the investors valued this AI product or AI program or software $3 million. $3 million valuation off the back of just an idea.
For an idea, no lines of code, nothing built, nothing designed.
Nothing built, no codes, nothing designed. $3 million valuation.
And essentially, we got ourselves ready to launch in a couple of months, just simply off the back of that waiting list and all the data that we collected.
Okay, here our chunk ends. BaarakAllohu fiikum. I hope I made it a little more clear what the gist of this chunk of the video is. BaarakAllohu fiikum. If these videos are helpful to you guys, BaarakAllohu fiikum, I really hope that you're going to leave some comments or feedback or likes, and you're going to share this video with your friends who are trying to learn English the easy and the interesting way. BaarakAllohu fiikum. I will be posting this chunk of the video only on my Telegram channel, inshallah, so that you can watch it without any breaks, without me, right? And then, BaarakAllohu fiikum, I hope off the back of your feedback, I will continue, inshallah, making these videos better and more beneficial, inshallah. So I hope to see you in the next video, inshallah. BaarakAllohu fiikum. Assalamu alaikum.